With both Dalamatia and Eden lost, the administration of Earth fell into the hands of the remarkable order of celestial beings known as the Melchizedeks. According to the Urantia Book, these beings served throughout the universe as teachers, administrators, and crisis managers during planetary emergencies. For thousands of years, they quietly guided humanity from behind the scenes, preserving what remained of truth while preparing the world for a turning point yet to come. So tell us a little bit more about who these beings are, which I think it's very interesting. And we see this word Melchizedek throughout different sacred texts.
There's two things I think we need to sort of talk about here that are going to set this up. One is a message that Adam and Eve received when they defaulted.
Okay.
And that message was actually from Michael, who we know on the planet as Jesus, saying, I know in your hearts that you weren't rebelling against me. You just made a mistake. I will see you. If I don't see you before, I'll see you when I come to the planet.
Okay.
And Adam and Eve are like, what?
Okay.
That was a huge thing. And they kept that in their hearts. And from that point on, there was conjecture that another son of God was going to be coming to the planet. And that sort of comes down through the millennia that someone's coming, right?
Okay.
So the other thing that we have to talk about, stepping way back and looking at all the stuff that we've been talking about and all of the things that went wrong on the planet. When something goes wrong on a planet, it's usually a Melchizedek that steps in, and it's usually a bunch of them. Melchizedeks, I guess we could really get into the different orders of celestial beings and stuff like that. But just to make it simple, Melchizedeks in our local area of the inhabited universe, they are a really, really high order, an incredibly diverse order of beings.
Okay.
They're higher than Caligastia and Lucifer, much higher. They're higher than... They're Melchizedeks.
No, but Lucifer and the other guys.
Lucifer and Caligastia are an order of divine being called a Lanonendek.
Okay, which are more administrative, right?
They are divine administrators. That's what they do. They're amazing at it. Like, that's what they're created for, right?
Okay,
Melchizedeks are way, way higher than that.
Okay, got it.
And Adam and Eve, they're higher than Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve's order is called a material son and daughter, and they have a very, very specific function, usually to come to the planets and do what Adam and Eve did here. But they also have jobs in some of the celestial spheres and stuff like that.
Okay.
But they are so diverse in the things that they do that they're the ones who usually step in when something goes wrong.
Okay.
So when the betrayal happened here, the Lucifer rebellion happened, it was a group of 12 Melchizedek receivers that stepped in to take the reins of everything, to keep kind of steering it, right? And they were the ones that were sort of helping Van do his thing while he was still on the planet. But they were basically in charge. Okay. And then when Van handed the reins over to Adam and Eve, the Melchizedek said, okay, Adam and Eve, you guys are running things now. We're going to withdraw. Good luck.
Yeah, you're going to stand away.
Yeah. Right? And they did that. And then Adam and Eve defaulted and they had to come back.
Okay.
So after Adam and Eve defaulted, the control of planetary affairs went back into the hands of the same 12 Melchizedek receivers. Okay. And they provisionally guided the whole celestial administration and the affairs of government and all that kind of stuff up until the time of Jesus coming here.
Okay.
The whole 38.
There was like an interim government. It's like an interim government with not necessarily in the affairs of man, That's important. I mean, because that has to take its course, and they kind of just, at a distance, just supervise that. But there is an administration of what's going to be, I see it as that when you come into a war, I mean, the other faction takes over, but you still have to have that administrative bureaucracy or organ, let's call it, that manages all the different institutions. I mean, who's going to pick up the trash? Who's going to, I mean, this is in a very human materials, simple way.
Yeah,
But,
but yeah,
I mean, this is
but who's going
basically
to do
what's
it?
happening.
Yeah,
Yeah. Who's going to take
yeah,
care of the administration, right?
that's right. Exactly.
Okay.
So I know when people think of Melchizedek, they think that's just one guy,
Yeah.
but it's
No.
an actual high order of beings. And in our local area of the inhabited universe, our local universe, there's actually almost 10 million of them.
Okay.
So we're talking a
Quite a
lot,
lot.
and diverse function. Um, there are some things that they are mostly known for.
Mm-hmm.
As we progress in our universe careers after we die and things like that, we'll know them as our educators. They will be
Okay.
teaching us all the way up, all the way up to until we're standing in the presence of Jesus or Michael himself.
Yeah.
They are the educators, and
Yeah.
they
That's
have
their
the
main function.
universities, and yeah. So I guess a
And
lot of
I,
people don't realize in the afterlife. I don't consider it an afterlife. I consider it all one life. But there are universities, there are educational institutions, and they run them. They
yeah.
teach us. Yeah,
And then, like, a lot of what you read in the Urantia book, and especially with Machiavelli and the way they operate, is that they are people. I mean, they are beings that really synthesize the process of everything. They kind of know everything, which is very interesting. But then and they they kind of see the not see the future, but see the outcome, of how things should be. So that's how the way they, that's what I get, that's the way they kind of implant their or impart, sorry, their teachings.
it's interesting that you say that, this sort of precognition thing, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a line in the Urantia book that really gets me, and
Mm-hmm.
it's about Melchizedek when he's talking with Abraham, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll be getting to Abraham in a minute, but um, he says he actually talks to Abraham, and this is where he's making the covenant with Abraham
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is talked about in the Bible, and he makes this covenant with Abraham, and then he tells Abraham about um, the repopulation of Canaan, of Abraham's descendants after they leave Egypt.
Okay.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah. That's
Like,
that's
how,
that's
how
what
does
I'm
he know
saying.
that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right?
I don't know. I don't think it's because, and I mean, we've speculated about this. And the other day I had a podcast with Susan Lyon, and with, about how the realms of, foresight. It's in the spirit world, but maybe what how they work is that they have such a structured, and their operative mind. It's like the movements in chess, that you can project as
Yeah,
many, movement. And you like this, you like martial arts, a lot of what the code of the Bushido is, how far you can project your thought
yeah.
into the future,
Anticipate,
into the
right?
movement,
Yeah,
anticipate.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I like that. I really like
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's still crazy when you think about it. He's talking about something that happens like 300 years later, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it brings up a whole bunch of philosophical questions, like, is the future determined, and there's nothing we can do? Like, we're talking about fate and predestination and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, which is probably not the topic of this
No, well,
particular
but
podcast.
actually, we're
But
gonna be talking about this later, and we were actually just talking about this. But there is a structure, and that's what I believe. It's not that it's predestined, but there is a pattern, a structural pattern
yeah,
that, if you can understand, it doesn't
yeah,
have the conclusions of it, But you know that if you're building a 10-story building, you kind of know where it's going to be and how it's going to look like. Maybe not the
Yeah.
details of how it's going to be furnished inside,
Sure.
but
Yeah. That's a really good
well,
way of looking at it. Yeah. The
but
structure's
let's
there, but yeah, the
yeah,
decorate.
exactly.
Anyway, so we just went on a
Coming
huge
coming
tangent,
back
but
to
yeah.
to the
So
Melchizedeks.
we're talking about the diverse function of the Melchizedek. So first of all, they're educators. That's what they're known for, like as we're advancing, right? They're also known widely as advisors and counselors
Mm-hmm.
to all kinds of different orders above them and below them, because they just know everything. They've got their fingers in all the pies of the local universe, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And as we talked about, they're also known as the emergency sons, the emergency sons of God, the emergency administrators. So in times of emergency, like I said, like a planetary rebellion,
yeah.
are there lots of planetary rebellions? We've been told that there's been 3 in our local universe.
From
So,
how? I mean, let's get the
yeah.
percentage, or more or less, from how many to just 3? How much? How much?
Well, it's hard to measure because it's hard to measure. Like, how do you measure how many rebellions compared to what, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
I thought we could, but anyways, go
I'm
ahead.
I'm not sure if you can. Like, you'd have to know how many rebellions happened in other local
Yeah.
universes or areas, and I don't know if we've ever been told that.
No.
We have been told that that these emergency bestowals, like what Melchizedek is about to do, his is only one of 7 that has ever happened in our local universe.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen very often, but when something does happen, it's a Melchizedek or a group of Melchizedeks that step in to take the reins.
Yeah.
So
That's part of the function, the
that's
emergency
what they do. Yeah.
administration. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
So,
again, when the Lucifer rebellion happened, it was this group of 12 that stepped in to take over. They ran things till Adam and Eve came along. They tried to hand it over to Adam and Eve. They got about 120-year break, and then they had to come back. And in our story, basically, we're at about 3000 BC, and they're
okay.
realizing, they know by this time that Jesus is coming, that Michael is going to bestow himself as the third in the series of upsteps, right? But this is an actual special one that we'll be talking a lot more about next time.
Yeah.
But they know he's coming, and they're freaking out, right?
Because everything's going to be a mess.
Well, because this light of truth is
Yeah.
really just a barely glowing ember now, and they want to have something for him to work with, right?
Yeah.
So you've got these 12, and they're wondering what they're going to do, and they're talking about it, and it's one of these 12, and his name is Melchizedek. He volunteers to bestow himself in what's called an emergency bestowal, and that's the thing that's only happened 7 times. His is one of 7 times it's only ever happened in our local universe, of up to 10 million worlds, right?
Okay.
So doesn't happen a lot, but Melchizedek volunteered to do this.
Okay.
So he's really kind of distinguished himself from the order by doing that, right?
Okay.
So so now, jumping way ahead,
Yeah.
we'll talk about Melchizedek's
Yeah, because
actual
now we're
mission
gonna
in the
be we're
next
gonna
one.
be
Yeah,
we're gonna be
but
jumping in there, but just
yeah,
to
we
sum
will.
up
But now,
who they are. Yeah.
yeah. So now that Jesus has done his bestowal, things are changed again. Melchizedek has actually been named Vice Regent Planetary Prince of our planet. So he's basically taken the title that Caligastia, the fallen prince, had, and he's been given that. It's the actual title is owned by Jesus / Michael, right?
Okay.
But the vice regent, the one who's actually doing it in the name of Jesus, is Melchizedek. So he's still very, very much involved. The group of 12 is no longer here. Melchizedek is still here.
Okay, so this
And
is important to know because this
Yes.
happened afterwards. I mean, after he
Yeah.
came, after Jesus came, so they
Yeah.
had this organizational structure set up this way, right?
And we'll find out why he's so distinguished and stuff like that. But so he as vice regent planetary prince, he also sits on a council of 24 elders who basically direct the affairs of our planet. So this is
Okay.
way different than anything it's like not normal on any other planet. This is specifically made for our planet because we're so messed up. But we've got this council of 24 elders, and these elders are people from Urantian history who have distinguished themselves, advanced the light of, like we're talking about, the light of truth, the light of God
Okay.
on the planet during their lives on the planet, and have had an epochal impact, a global or racial impact on the planet.
Okay. So
So
our
there are,
history is there.
yeah, there are representatives from each of the 6 indigenous races. I think the oldest one, and I'm totally going to mess up his name, but it's Onomanolonton. Actually, that was pretty good.
Okay, good.
He's like upwards of 800,000 years old.
Okay.
So he's one of these guys that's on the council. Other
Okay.
notable people would be Adam and Eve, Melchizedek, John the Baptist, and a bunch of other people that the Urantia Book tells us about that aren't
Okay.
as commonly known in terms of their
Okay.
names.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. So, Melchizedek is still very, very much involved in Urantian affairs, and he's got this special position that he's sitting in the seat of the planetary prince in the name of Michael, in the name of Jesus. So that's kind of where things are sitting right now.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered what the Melchizedeks are and who Melchizedek is, and I think the next part is going to tell us what exactly how we see him and what exactly he did here. So this is going to be interesting. So stick around. We're gonna jump right in. On the Divine Within podcast, we'll share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.